Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! So this happened earlier today and I was go-karting with my family. It was a beautiful Saturday and we decided to have some fun at the local go-kart track. We were all excited, especially my younger brother, who was a karting enthusiast. Little did I know that this day would turn into a roller coaster of emotions, all thanks to an entitled mom and her bratty kid. It all began with a cheerful revving of go-kart engines and a smell of rubber on a track. The adrenaline was pumping through my veins as I climbed into my sleek electric go-kart. The track was packed and everyone was eager to have a good time. My family and I joined the line, ready to race. As luck would have it, I found myself in the same race as the entitled kid and his mom. Now, I wasn't racing with the intention of winning, but I guess the thrill of the competition got the better of me. The flag dropped and we were off. I maneuvered my kart skillfully, overtaking my competitors one by one. The wind rushes past and I could feel the vibrations of the track beneath me. Just as I was about to cross the finish line and secure my victory, I heard a voice that would soon become the bane of my day. "Excuse me?" I brought my car to a halt, a bit perplexed. I had no idea what this lady wanted. I looked over at her, still seated in my cart. I say, "Yes?"
"Were you in a recent race?"
Yeah, what about it?"
"How dare you bump and make my child lose?"
I scratched my head, utterly confused. Bumping was a common occurrence in kart racing. It was part of the thrill, the strategy. I tried to explain. I was just racing. It's okay to bump in karting, you know?"
"Okay then,"
she replied with a smirk and a smile that sent shivers down my spine. Little did I know that this encounter was just the beginning of an infuriating series of events. The next race, I found myself sharing the track with the entitled parent again. She seemed to have made it her mission to make my karting experience a nightmare. As we zipped around the track, she started to get aggressive and she kept tailgating me. And at one point, she even tried to nudge my kart to make me lose control. A concerned worker approached us, realizing that the entitled parent was pushing things too far. "Ma'am, you need to stop doing that, or we will have to kick you out."
"Well, he did it to my son, and he said it was okay."
Yes, it's okay to bump in karting, but it's not okay to try to flip someone over. You could have gone to jail or been sued for damages.
"Well, that's unfair."
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not only was she endangering everyone on the track, but she also seemed to be completely ignorant of the rules and the potential consequences of her actions. But there was no reasoning with her. Another race followed and the entitled kid was once again in it. I was determined to enjoy my time on the track, but it seemed that the entitled parent had other plans. I gave it my all and ended up finishing first. The entitled kid unfortunately finished last. As I parked my cart and stepped out, the entitled parent approached me with an expression of absolute fury.
"You let my son win."
Well, it's not as easy as you think. It's not about placement, it's about time. He needs to drive faster. Before I could finish my sentence, she slapped me. Yes, you read that right. She slapped me. Right there on the go-kart track. My cheek stung and I was in utter disbelief. My mom, who had been watching from the sidelines, rushed over. She says to the entitled mother, "You witch."
"Excuse me, how dare you?"
My mom, fueled by a protective rage I had never seen before, wasted no time in retaliating. She gave the entitled mother a taste of her own medicine, and a full-blown catfight ensued. I tried to intervene to tell my mom I was okay, but she was in full mama bear mode, and nothing could stop her. The entitled parent, realizing that she was losing the physical battle, threatened to call the manager. And that's when things took an unexpected turn. The manager arrived and after reviewing the security footage and taking statements from witnesses, it became clear who the real troublemaker was. The manager says, "Ma'am, it's evident from the footage that you were the aggressor here. You endangered other racers and assaulted this young man."
"But he made my son lose."
Karting involves competition. and bumping is allowed. Your actions were unacceptable. You are banned from this facility." The entitled parent was furious, but there was no way out of it. Cameras do not lie. As a consolation for the ordeal, the manager offered my family 15 free go-karting rounds the next time we visited. It was a sweet victory for us. And so that's the story of my first encounter with a Karen. It was a day filled with adrenaline, frustration, and unexpected heroics from my mom. The lesson here? Don't mess with karting moms. They are the real champions on and off the track. This was last year. I just sold my home in my HOA. About 5 years ago, I bought a 1,500 square feet townhome condo in an up-and-coming town, right in the downtown area. This is a valuable property whose home prices haven't increased 35% since I have purchased. This was a wonderful area within walking distance of everything I loved as a single bachelor. When I moved in, all my neighbors were wonderful. We all got along great except for one person. She belonged to the HOA board, but was moving on because you can only serve 8 years. We will call her Karen. Karen is a 65-plus-year-old widow whose husband died unexpectedly from a heart attack. She doesn't have much to do. She met a man online and moved on, and I was happy for her. Talking to my passive neighbors, I hear bits and pieces of why things are at the HOA because of Karen and other women who had to move because of age. On the board, the two of them bully residents. They changed the landscaping from mulch to pine needles, and they stopped upkeep on the pool deck because they hate kids. They reported one house for anything and everything because their kids were too loud. I got married and my wife has been living with me for 2 years now. We are very happy. During this time, Karen began spending more and more time with her new boyfriend. He lives about an hour away from our house in the country. She would initially spend the weekend, then a week there, until she began living there all time with very little time spent here. Now, at our complex, there is only one rule on parking. Each resident is entitled to 2 spots close to their building, but not necessarily in front of your unit, and there is no limit to parking spots you may occupy. Close to it is a key word. We have new folks on the board who are all under 40 years of age, and the place is starting to get spruced up. We have some friends over regularly and they park in front of our unit. Karen had 2 hip replacements done and we had not seen her in about 7 months. Our little area of the complex consists of 8 townhomes that face each other, 4 on one side and 4 on the other. There are 8 spots for 3 homes and a handicapped spot for one of our neighbors. Karen started coming back around in January for longer periods, a day on a weekend to go out downtown or to visit friends. She started complaining that we were in her spots. Again, there are no assigned spots. We were willing to move our friends' vehicles for her to another empty spot, that is until she started occupying 2 spots at a time with her vehicle. This behavior continued as she would come in taking 2 spots at a time she was there. The rules in the master deed says no vehicle can take more than 1 spot without written permission from the board of directors or property management group and cannot continue for more than 2 days with permission. This was to account for residents moving in and out. Suddenly, that spring, my wife had a medical issue and was hospitalized for 4 days and on disability for 8 weeks. My mom was the only family member on both sides that had the capability of coming down to where we lived to help us out. She drove down and we needed to occupy 3 spots. I promptly let our property management company know and the board of directors knew what was happening, providing them with my mom's make, model, and plate number and that she will be here 6 to 8 weeks, just in case anyone had an issue. Karen's first time home in 6 weeks, we had a car in front of her house, but she had room for her vehicle. She marched over and banged. And I mean it was loud. She banged on the door demanding we move our car and tried to open my front door and walk in my home. Yes, she tried to enter my home. It shook my dog who peed herself. It was that loud. Who in turn growled and chased her out. I promptly told her there was no assigned parking and the rule is 1 car, 1 spot. We would move a car out of respect one last time and saw she occupied 2 spots with it per usual. The next time it happened 2 weeks later, we refused to move our car, and we also began taking pictures of our records and communicating with our HOA of Karen's erratic behavior. She continued to arrive, bang on our door, scream at us for having a car parked in her spot. One time, banging on a door, she dented the frame with her keys. A few additional times when we were not home, she would come in and park, occupying 2 spots. I would take more pictures for my records in case something happened because of her erratic behavior. Finally, it happened. About this time last year, I was at the gym and got a call from my mom and my wife, frantic that someone is going to tow my wife's car. I drive home as fast as I can, and it's Karen's boyfriend's son and his girlfriend whom we have never met, and this jerk who doesn't live here and has no business here is screaming at us and insulting my pregnant wife and mother. My mother-in-law pays X dollars a month for these spots. You jerks are breaking the rules. I'ma tow that there SUV. All while drinking beer. Now, we know he can't do anything except scream and try to intimidate us outside. He calls his mother-in-law, who is not married to his father, about the situation. Karen drives an hour to our complex. When she gets here, she parks her car behind all 3 of ours and gets out, blocking us in. And I had enough. I quickly snapped some pictures, I called the police, and I will not feel unsafe or be harassed in my neighborhood by people who don't even live there or are barely there. Karen realizes I called the police and moves her car. I print out all my documentation, pictures, and all communication from the HOA, and I shower quickly because I'm disgusting from the gym and throw on a nice polo shirt and shorts. My pregnant wife sits in her rocking chair and my mother sits calmly at the kitchen table. The police arrive and we can see them hollering, waving arms wildly and screaming. The police come to the door and we kindly open up. Karen tries to walk in before I block her and ask her to leave my property and invite the police officers in. We apologize that we even had to call them over something so petty, but our neighbor is acting crazy and her entitled behavior has been escalating. We explain what is happening, show them communication from the HOA, show them pictures, and the officer quickly had enough of these white trash pieces of craps. He imposes a no trespass order on my Porsche and will not let her near my property. If she steps foot on our walkway, she is in violation of the order and she will be arrested. We watch him go back out and explain calmly to her, and she starts screaming along with her boyfriend's kid and his girlfriend. This goes on for a while and the officer calls for backup and a second car arrives promptly. Karen promptly declares it her property too. She pays her fees and that he can't do that because everything is community property outside of a home. She goes and marched up to my stoop and he arrests her, charges her with disorderly conduct and harassment. The police then tell Karen's boyfriend's son to go home and he gets in his truck with his girlfriend and then drive off. As soon as he hits the road outside of our complex, a second police officer pulls him over for DUI. That's right, the drunk guy screaming at my wife and mother had been drinking the entire time and he was loaded. Police couldn't do anything in the complex but could when he hit the main road. Both of them were hauled off the jail and we stopped hearing from them about parking. 2 days later, Karen and her boyfriend show up to the complex and they park their boyfriend's car in our lot and they leave it. Parked in one spot to ensure it's hers, well, they drive off and we don't hear from them in a week and no one is home. Since Karen's boyfriend does not live here and his car is abandoned, I called the HOA to report it and they came and towed his SUV. Karen put her house on the market 8 weeks later. Hey everyone, I'm a 25-year-old woman living in the bustling city of New York, and I need some advice. A friend from my hometown asked me a few months ago if she and her partner, whom I'd never met, could crash at my place for about 5 or 6 days sometime at the end of September or early October. She was coming to the city for a wedding and thought it would be great to catch up. Now, this seemed fine at the time, but let me tell you, things took a turn, and I'm not sure If I'm the jerk in this situation. Months went by after our initial conversation, and 2 weeks ago, I finally decided to ask her for the exact dates of her trip because I needed to leave town during her visit. It wasn't a vacation or anything, I had some unavoidable commitments, and to my surprise she told me that she no longer had another place to stay for the first half of her trip. Her original plan was to split her stay between my place and a friend's, but that fell through because her friend lived with 3 other people and an unruly dog. She also mentioned they were both pretty strapped for cash and couldn't afford an Airbnb. Now here is where I feel like I messed up. I have a bit of a people-pleasing tendency, so when she told me this, I felt backed into a corner. My tiny NYC apartment is far from spacious, it's old and in terrible condition, and I have 2 cats who are always keeping me busy with cleaning. On top of that, I've never even met her partner, and my partner hasn't either. I knew in my gut that I wasn't comfortable with them being in my space for so long, especially while I was out of town. Still, she had only given me about a week and a half's notice of her situation, which made me feel even more trapped. My partner later told me he wasn't comfortable with this arrangement either, and I didn't even think to consult him before agreeing to this. For the past week, I've been trying to contact my friend to work things out, but she flat out ignored me until Sunday. Now, it's Wednesday night and she's arriving in the city tomorrow. All she's told me is that she has an Airbnb booked for just 2 nights. This left me feeling frustrated and stressed out because she'd be staying in my place while I was gone for a significant portion of her trip, and I hadn't had a chance to prepare the apartment or myself for my own travels. I believe that if you can't afford to travel for leisure, you probably shouldn't. I've always been careful with my finances and only travel when it's absolutely necessary, like visiting family. I can't help but feel like my friend backed me into a corner with her financial situation and last-minute timing. But now she doesn't seem to want to communicate and work things out with me. To make matters worse, I wouldn't even ask my friends to host me and someone they have never met for such an extended period, especially if they won't be home. It feels inconsiderate and I can't shake the feeling that I'm being taken advantage of. So Reddit, here is my dilemma. Am I the jerk in this situation? Did I handle it poorly, or is it my friend being unreasonable here? I'd really appreciate some guidance on how to navigate this sticky situation. And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, everybody's a jerk. You've gotta learn to say no when you want. Because doing something like this, having someone make plans that are contingent on your help and then backing out, really sucks. It leaves people stuck and they get very understandably angry when your assistance is necessary to their plans and they fall apart, or get much more expensive when you pull out. She should have given you dates as soon as she had them. When her other place fell through or she realized it was unsuitable, she should have immediately contacted you to see if she could stay longer or needed to alter her plans to find other accommodations to replace the first one. I saw that you have clarified in the comments that she was avoiding your calls and that's why you couldn't have told her sooner. Well, I do think that period of time she was ignoring you. That was a point where you literally type out the words, "You can't stay here, arrangements are too late and too complicated, and anyways my guy said no." Straight and clear in a text. Another commenter adds, everyone's a jerk. Your friend can ask to stay with you but shouldn't try to guilt you into it. You should have checked with your partner before offering your apartment, and you should have immediately contacted your friend when you found out you were going to need to travel during their stay. In the end, you don't have to allow your friend to stay in your apartment. It's something you were doing for free as a favor. She planned a very long trip to NYC when she couldn't afford to stay, and she didn't consider that almost nobody in NYC has room for guests. A third commenter goes with, everybody's a jerk. She was kind of a jerk for assuming and pressuring you and not being organized and dodging your calls. But girl, you did not communicate that there might be an issue and you need to clarify dates until 2 weeks out. You then tell her it's cool for her to stay without clearing it with your partner. per your comments, she is arriving tomorrow and still thinks she's staying with you. And you're now planning to pull the rug out literally the day before she arrives. Depending on her travel arrangements, it's not exactly easy to change flights. You could leave her seriously screwed and stranded. It all started innocently enough. Just a regular day, a trip to a GameStop with my friend's kid and my mom. The kid asks,
Yo, Obi, is it okay if I go to your house? My dad said it's okay.
Yeah, sure. We left GameStop eager to enjoy our newly purchased games. The sun was shining and the day seemed full of promise, but as we arrived home, we were met with unexpected sights. Our backyard gate had been brutally broken, as if it had been attacked by a furious giant wielding an axe. My mom and I exchanged worried looks before cautiously entering the house. And that's when we spotted her, the infamous entitled mother, holding our beloved dog by the collar. "Hey witch, what are you doing, you psycho?" my mom yelled. The entitled mother running out of the front door,
You made me lose my kid. You lose your dog.
my mom, never one to mince words, unleashed her fury upon the entitled mother. I was equally enraged and tried to join the fray, attempting to tackle this woman who had invaded our home. But before I could reach her, the entitled mother delivered a hard left hook that met my nose with a sickening crack. And now my nose bleeds profusely. "Ow, you freaking jerk!" The entitled mother, stumbling on the front stairs in her haste to escape, scraped her forehead. Amid the chaos, the nice kid grabbed his phone and dialed 911. Both police officers, 1 and 2, familiar faces from a previous encounter with the entitled mother, arrived swiftly on the scene. The first one, not one to waste time, promptly arrested her, while the second officer hopped back into the police car to report the incident to a third police officer. As I clutched my throbbing nose, the nice kid's dad arrived to pick us up, sparing us from further interaction with the entitled mother. We headed to the nice kid's house, where we could finally unwind, play GTA V, and put the traumatic encounter behind us. Fast forward a bit and the entitled mother was sentenced to 13 years in jail for her crimes, which included breaking and entering and assaulting me. My nose, on the other hand, was still healing and looked crooked as ever, but it was a small price to pay for justice. On a brighter note, I had reached level 27 in GTA V, which was pretty great. So there you have it. My encounter with an entitled woman who returned for revenge and ended up stealing my dog. It was a crazy day that I will never forget, but in the end, justice was served and I had a new high score to brag about in GTA V. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.